Jessica, hi, how you doing? Thank you so much for your post, and thanks for kicking things off. That takes guts, and it's not always the easiest thing to do. So I appreciate that, and hats off to anybody who's got the guts to go ahead and post first. So let's take a look at your work, shall we? Okay, I've got your work over here, and then I got kind of like this checklist over here, and I kind of trying to fit them both in the same. I think we got it. Yeah. All right. So this is great. Straight to the heart. Good job. No messing around. I love that you just jumped right in here. I really do, and that is so awesome. This introduction, I think there's a lot of things that we can do. Now, this is an initial post, but as far as what you've got set up here, as far as introduction to culture and branding elements, that's really the meat of the paper. So but I want to address some other things that aren't in the paper. And I think that by not addressing things like stakeholder groups, client goals and objectives, and uh, this down here, some of these things, I think that you're kind of missing. Now, I know this is just an initial draft, but I think you're kind of missing some opportunities, not jumping on those like you jumped right into the real essence of this assignment. So, and I'll get to that. But again, fabulous job. I love it. I love the choice. I love the reasoning. Okay, over here in your introduction, this is good. Now, don't forget that right now this is a bid, so to speak. So right here, as we can see, this is a bid to nominate this city as the host city for the 2022 Olympics, right? So there's a lot of stuff here that we need to address. But the introduction and specifically mentioning that the youth winter games were there, that's good. That's a solid foundation because we already know that it's acceptable climate-wise for winter games. So good job there. Now, I don't know if, you've still probably got 10-year, it'll be, at the time, it will be 10-year-old venues, but that's certainly a possibility to look into the venues and maybe repurposing the venues for different events for the full-blown Olympic event. Culture, this is great, and I love the fact that you went right to Romanian visual culture. That shows me that you get it. So this is great. You know what? Could this be your visual solution discovered so early in the process? Possibly, and it's quite probable. This has so much potential right here. These eggs, just incredible potential. So food for thought there. The coat of arms, I think I go through a lot of students using coats of arms and elements therein to create logos. And personally, I think that coats of arms are usually so old and traditional that they're just not visually exciting to a lot of the viewers, the main core viewers of the Olympics. That's my thought. I'm willing to bet there's some research that backs me up on that. But it makes sense when you think about it. So I'm down with a visual solution more along these lines than those lines. Okay, branding elements, outstanding, really good definitions here. Really good job defining some of your opportunities. Logo, absolutely. Logo's got to stand hard. It's got to be hard, man. It's got to be solid. And also, the logo has to be versatile because it'll quite likely be viewed with the Olympic rings, right? Okay, and also, typically there's some sort of a pattern. And I think you kind of alluded to that when you talked about this Bravos Valley and Carpathian Mountains. So, typically, the Olympic visual branding package will hold some sort of a textured pattern. And I probably should have had an example up here for you from recent Olympics. But if you go ahead and just take a look at branding for Winter Olympics in recent years, you'll see what I'm talking about. Also, take a look at one of the examples I posted. The first one has a wonderful example of pattern there. Okay, the train interiors and exteriors, outstanding. There's some of your visual solutions right there. The train, absolutely, yes. Not only do people and spectators need to be transported back and forth, but so do the athletes. And so I think by pushing that and using that to your advantage in this branding system is very, very smart. Marketing would need to promotional souvenirs. Absolutely. Yeah, everybody's going to want to take home a piece of the Olympics. Everybody. I know everybody. It's something you show your grandkids, several years later, right? Okay, so yes, everything here is solid. Thank you so much for your citations. I think you missed a couple of. Oh, there's that. Do we have an image citation for the eggs? And yeah, okay. Awesome, awesome. Good job. All right. So, stakeholder groups. So, who's involved here? The International Olympic Committee, of course. Probably the local governments of the city, the host city. So, name those. Okay. Client goals and objectives. That's important. Who is the client? You're the designer. Who is the client? Your client is basically the folks who want to bid for this location as the host location for the 2022 Winter Olympics. Talk about that a little bit. Products or service knowledge. You talked about that very well. You defined some wonderful features. I just think we need to take it a little bit further. Levels of communication. You know what? Think about some of the other things that you can design. Now, you got into that train, which is really thinking way, way outside the box. Off the track. Get it? Right. All right. So, so thinking off the track like that with the train graphics is really a wonderful example of you showing these levels of communication. Let's take a look at a few more Olympic Village graphics, banners, environmental graphics, even event location graphics. Interference and potential opportunities. Are there any political hotbeds in that area of the world that maybe want to be looked at? Things like that. Research past Olympics. There's got to be an Olympics in that specific area that you can compare and contrast and use for examples. Culture and region. I'd like to see a little bit more on that, on the actual, the indigenous culture of this, not Romania proper, but this specific region of Romania. Talked about that. I just talked about that. Write a report, findings what makes the culture. And talk about this. This is really important. Talk about unique art, textiles, languages, mythology, music, and customs. And quite often you're going to find a lot of your visual solutions right in here. So try to key on that for the final presentation. Create a plan of how these precedents may inspire your design. Mission statement. That's really, really important. I didn't see I didn't see a mission statement, but try to develop a really, really solid mission statement that supports the future phases along with the strategic plan of action for this particular project. And I say future phases, meaning that, you'll be developing the graphics for, once this location is okay, then you'll be going on to design graphics for all of those things we just talked about, Olympic villages and signs and environmental graphics and outdoor and signage and indoor and all sorts of different kinds of merchandising, blah, blah, blah. And the list goes on and on and on. So all I'm saying is if you got a wonderful start here, solid foundation, and I think for next week's final submission for this assignment, I think that we should just concentrate on bringing this a little bit more detail. Just you know what to do. I mean, this is just solid. It's a wonderful introduction. So just expound on what we have here, introduce a few more things, and I think we're in business. And please don't forget that mission statement's extremely, extremely important. Mission statement's going to tell your viewer before they start to get into the actual program that the person who wrote this and the person who's presenting this understands what they need to present information-wise that is relevant for the viewer in order for this presentation to make sense. I hope that made sense. Okay. Any questions at all? I'm right here. Just get with me. This is fabulous. Thank you so much. Great job.